Okay, now that we've created an armature, the next obvious step is to connect that armature to the mesh. So in order to do that, you must select the mesh first. So I'll go back into object mode and select the mesh. Then you shift select the bones. And once you've selected both, we need to create a parent-child relationship, which you do by pressing Ctrl P. And you can tell it how to set up that parent-child relationship. Now in our case, we'd like to create that relationship such that it has automatic weights, and you'll see what weights are all about in a moment. So now that they're connected, we can select the skeleton only, and you'll notice in object mode and edit mode there's another one called pose mode. Now pose mode is where you can change the pose of your mesh that has now been rigged. So if I grab his right arm, I can rotate it, and you'll see that it then rotates as you would expect. Same with his hand. And for any item you like. Okay. But there is one thing that is quite important to check out early on, and that is how Blender has gone and worked out what bones are connected to what part of this mesh. So if I select his head, for instance, and rotate this to one side, you'll notice that it really hasn't done a great weight painting job. It's left the eyes behind, and it's left his mouth behind. Now this is because Blender didn't think they were part of his head for some reason. So we need to fix that up. So in order to do this, we will go back to object mode, select the mesh, and with the mesh you can then go to object data, which will show you vertex groups, and you can see here listed are the vertex groups that match each of the different objects or parts of your armature, each of the bones. So if I select head, for instance, and then instead of being in object mode, I go to weight paint mode. In weight paint mode it shows you what is being painted and what is part of the head. Now anything that is blue is not part of the head. Anything that is red is strongly part of the head. Now there's obviously a gradient applied just so that weights will do some kind of smooth movement of or deforming of the mesh. But what we need obviously is the eyes and the mouth to still be part of the weight painting. So now that we've got head selected, I'll just move this properties window aside and bring up the tools menu. And in the tools menu you can see it is context specific again, so it is dealing with how we do weight paints. So I'm going to go into wireframe mode. I'll just zoom around this thing a little bit, and with this circle tool you can just colour in the parts that need to be part of the head. So if I just colour in across here, you can see it's doing a pretty decent job. Now we'll just check at the back. Okay, so it's not going straight through, so we can fix that up. We'll just go around here as well. Okay, now there's no doubt I will have missed some of that, but probably one of the easiest ways to check what you've missed, go back to object mode, select the bone structure, go to pose mode, rotate this thing to the side. Now at the moment it's obviously that I'm missing some of those vertices, so if I go back to object mode, select the mesh, weight paint, I can then simply colour in those vertices that I was missing. Okay, now that's worked perfectly for this side, but I better pose go to pose mode again and grab the other side. So I'll rotate that back over, and you can see there are still components that I've missed. So back to object mode I go, weight paint, and now I have everything that makes up his head. Now I'll just put his head backwards to check one more time. So I'll rotate that back up, and I'll rotate it backwards. Yep, looks like I've got all of his head now. Now because I've done a bit of mucking around with this object, I'm going to select the whole bone structure, and in pose here you can choose clear transform all, and it returns to the rest position that your pose was originally set up, which can be quite handy. Okay, so tools menu can disappear, and now you can see we have Sackboy rigged and he is weight painted correctly. You can go ahead and check the other ones if you want, but I think you'll find the head was the only one that was likely to be broken.